No, that's fair. I think that the tight end position is the one position in football, in fantasy football, where you look at it, it's this hyper athletic guys that are super productive in your top tight ends. And Noah Fant was, you go look at his combine metrics, I mean, just eye popping numbers. And then
Yeah.
he had those couple of years in Denver early in his career. So I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if he does end up like with the Giants, I think that there's potential there for him to carve out a role.
Yeah, I ain't mad at it. I ain't mad at it. All right, here we go. 10-team league. We have 3 receivers and a flex, 3 bench spots, 1 quarterback, 1 tight end, 2 running backs. I'm drafting from the 6th spot. Tyler is drafting from the 8th spot. Let's get it. That's why we need a member only or sub only. Yeah, this is nice and chill right now. Shit, even the member only chat gets crazy after a while. Would you rather have Genty Nabers or Kyren Lamb in half point PPR redraft? Definitely not Genty. I probably go the Kyren Lamb side here for me personally. Because I think CD Lamb. I think we're forgetting who CD Lamb is. You talked about that before, but then I
Mhm.
also just trust Kyren way more than I trust Genty.
Yeah, I probably because those, obviously, like I'm intrigued with the first side just because it's this fantasy upside with those kind of guys. You don't know what they're truly capable of, but
Yeah,
the other side is definitely more safe. Like you know what you're gonna get. Although some people think, what's his face gonna lose work this year? Apparently,
Kyren. There's been a lot of I've noticed a lot like this Kyren kind of hate train has been going on. I think
yeah,
McVay's talked about get lessening the workload. You go draft Jarquez Hunter, and then you also have Blake Corum last year. So obviously, and they got to pay him too. I think Kyren's due for a contract, so this might be one of those situations where they're like, all right, prove to me you're worth the contract. Prove to me you're not replaceable. Maybe that's what this is for the Rams.
ooh, let's
Yeah,
see.
I don't know. I think
Where
I
is
think
it?
CD Lamb though. We I think we're forgetting who CD Lamb
Not me.
really is. Not you, not you.
Not
I think
me.
we as you're right, you're right.
I,
As a
I think
community.
he should be. I agree with the beginning of this draft. He should be the third overall pick,
I'm
in
not
my
mad at that.
opinion. Just because everybody loves Jamar Chase now, and Jamar Chase the easy number one pick. But just I went back and looked at it. Literally, those two guys scored the. I don't think it was exactly the same, but it was less than 1 point. The same amount of points CD scored 2 years ago, and they averaged these same exact fantasy points per game.
Like 22, 23, somewhere there.
It was 23. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what CD can be. And then I know people bring up like George Pickens, but like that was one of the big things with Jamar Chase. He can't be wide receiver one because he has T. Higgins there. He's still wide receiver one. Why?
Yeah.
Because he's one of the best wide receivers in the league. These guys command a high end, like a lot of targets, just what they do. Same with Justin Jefferson. I mean, you could say this too, like he's already been it, but he has tougher target competition than both those guys. He has TJ Hawkinson and Jordan Addison. So,
Yeah.
like,
Well, depending on Jordan Addison's situation.
yeah, but
But
like these guys have other people. There's not just a Batman. There's always a Robin, and that's what George Pickens will be. He'll be a Robin to the Batman of CD Lamb, and CD Lamb can be the wide receiver one, like easily.
I think the one thing about CeeDee Lamb we're also forgetting too is that he's going to move around way more than he even moved last year. Like he's going to have the ability to do that with Pickens playing on the outside. He can go outside, he can go back to the slot, inside, work a lot of that. And I think once Dak is healthy too, like CD provides such a nice floor PPR
Yeah,
wise because of his targets. He's going to command somewhere to 10 to 12 targets each game. So that offense, I know it's going to change maybe a little bit, but like I'm just when I think of CD Lamb, you think quarterback. There's not you're right as far as like question marks with the quarterback. You don't really have to deal with that with Dak versus like JJ McCarthy is just a true wild card.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
only thing is I think Jefferson's probably a better
No,
receiver,
for sure,
but
absolutely. If I knew if Jefferson had Kirk Cousins, there'd be no question where it's Jamar Chase, Jay Jettis. Take your pick at the 101. It's just we
yeah,
have no idea. I mean, JJ McCarthy could be Kirk Cousins, which would be fantastic. I think that's like best case scenario. He's basically Kirk Cousins in this offense, which wheels up, but he could be, once again, like worse than Sam Darnold. Not which I still think Jefferson will be fine, but I would not say he has the same ceiling as a CD Lamb if Dak is healthy all year long.
yo, I made a take. I made a take. Speaking of like good receivers, I made a take. I want to get your thoughts on this take I had, and I dropped this take on TikTok. So if you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and check it out. But I talked about Davante Adams. And I mentioned, I was like, yo, we have him like wide receiver 18 right now. I was saying this because I almost took him right here. And I probably shouldn't have said nothing until after my pick. But are we undervaluing Davante Adams? He finishes the wide receiver 11 last year with the Jets, and that was missing. I think he missed 2 games last year when he was going through the stuff with the Raiders. And I know it's not Aaron Rodgers, his buddy, but like he's probably going to operate out of the slot, which is Cooper Kupp's spot, where Cooper Kupp was averaging, he was the wide receiver 5 on a points per game basis over the first 14 weeks of the year. And like Davante Adams, there's no other way to say this, but he's flat out just better than Cooper Kupp. Like he's elite when it comes to like being a receiver.
Yeah.
So are we undervaluing Davante Adams? Because I think he might be one of the most mispriced receivers in all of fantasy.
Well, my question to you would be, because I'm struggling with this, and I have looked at him at this spot. Who is the wide receiver 12 this year?
Yeah, who you take out? Who you take out? That's the hard
I
part.
I, I don't know, like, because for me it's a very clear top 11.
Yeah,
Like AJ Brown, Lyle McConkey,
I don't got Lad
Drake
in there. I don't
London.
think that's that clear.
Lad is easily inside the top 11. You're crazy if not.
Nah.
Out of those guys, I don't know who to put in. And Davante Adams is definitely in that discussion. Like for me, the guys that I keep going back and forth on is Tyreek Hill, Garrett Wilson, and Davante Adams. And the reason being is like I'm kind of part of the crowd that I think there's I don't want to say a good chance, but a decent chance that Tyreek is not the player that he once was. It may be regressing here before our eyes after last season. Or
Yeah,
there's the flip side.
I don't see
He
that.
goes back to what he was, and then he's a great value. But like the situation has changed drastically for Davante Adams over the past few years, and he still continues to put up wide receiver 1 numbers. I mean, last
That's
year
the
he
thing.
was like 17. So like he's arguably walking into a better situation here with the Rams on a more potent offense that has historically under Sean McVay been very condensed with all the targets that go through a couple of guys. And it's going to be him and it's going to be Puka Nacua. So I would agree. I honestly think he might be my wide receiver 12 heading into the season, but it's just that range of guys that I don't know, but he's one guy that I feel good about being at the very least a high end wide receiver 2 this season.
Where I started thinking the more about this was I was seeing him like I was seeing him down there like wide receiver 18, and sometimes when old receiver new team, I think there's a stigma about that, and I think there's some validity to it, right? Like older receivers going to new teams, it
Yeah.
typically doesn't work out very well. But I was noticing, I'm like, okay, I have a lot of question marks about Mike Evans this year, right? Like I think his ceiling's kind of limited. You bring in Emeka Egbuka, what does this look like for that team, right? New offense coordinator. And I was like, okay, Terry McLaurin, he's holding out. How long does he hold out for? If not, I think Terry's pretty safe as like 1,100 and like 6 to 8 touchdown guy. Maybe he has. I think there's some TD regression coming his way off the season he had last year.
Yeah.
Especially you bring Debo in there, right? And I'm like, okay, Marv, I really like Marv, really like the upside for Marv, and he could smash, but like there's also a chance that Trey McBride is just the guy there. Lad, obviously it's a run first offense. He's probably not going to get the touchdowns you want to see, whereas like and I'm starting to create in T. Higgins. Like T. Higgins has the value, but he stays hurt. So I'm going over and I'm like, well, Davante, what are Davante's like? What's his risk? What's Davante Adams' risk? He typically stays healthy. And really it's just the fact that like unless Puka Nacua is this 200 target hog but like Stafford will spread the rock out. And Stafford can carry 2 top 12 to 15 receivers. So why am I even panicking on Davante Adams? That's where I'm at. And
Yeah.
you got a guy who is widely considered, even now, he's considered a top 5 receiver. And there's a chance, Tyler, there's a chance, and I know it sounds far-fetched because I said the same thing last year about Cooper Kupp, but there's a chance Davante Adams outplays Puka Nacua this year. There's that chance.
I disagree, but
I think there is
I
a
think they
chance
can
that
both
happens.
be wide receiver 1. I don't see it. I think Puka is much better than what people anticipate. I think Puka is a superstar, truly.
I think he's a superstar as well, but I think that's also saying now I think he's a superstar doesn't mean that Davante Adams isn't a superstar and a better receiver still than Puka Nacua is. Like if you had to rank your top 5 receivers in real football, I'm not saying for fantasy, in real football, I think most people would still consider Davante Adams a top 5 receiver. The talent didn't just leave. He was still
No,
elite
but I
last
think
year.
He was good last year. I wouldn't say elite.
He was elite last year.
He was good.
What were
Puka
his
was
numbers?
elite.
I'm about to hold on. I got to pull up his.
I think you're kind of underselling. Like, I think we'll see this year. Puka Nakua is gonna
It's I
light
think
the
that's
world on
the
fire.
hardest part. It's saying I have to undervalue Puka Nakua. I think we are just
No,
massively
I think they both
undervaluing.
can. No, I agree with what you're saying. Okay, you're just you're saying there's a chance. I disagree. Well, sure, there's a chance. Never say never, but never. All right. So that's what I feel. But anyways, um, no, but I do think that they could be top 12 wide receivers in fantasy football. I do think that's a real possibility. I mean, when you go back and look at like Cooper Cup and what's his name? Robert Woods. They both produce, I believe they're both top 20 wide receivers, and Davante Adams better than both those guys. I would say
Yeah,
Puka Nakua is better than both those guys.
yeah,
Maybe not Puka or Cooper Cup, but I also think Cooper Cup was just in a perfect situation with a prime Matthew Stafford at that point. But like I would argue both these guys are so it just comes down to for me like and some other people were saying like last year I've seen them say it that Matthew Stafford regressed last year. Well, that's because he wasn't playing with Puka Nakua for nearly half the season, and also Cooper Cup got hurt last year. Like he was throwing
yeah.
the fucking Jordan Winnington and Tutu Latwell. Like
It's
what do
that
you
way.
expect him to do? So I think that Matthew Stafford still has it, and I think that Davante Adams still has it, and you have an ascending superstar and Puka Nakua, where what like these guys can eat. And I would not be shocked if at the end of the year you look back and Matthew Stafford is supporting two top 12 wide receivers in fantasy football. So I agree with you. Like he's because like I think there's just you can start really poking holes in all those guys after once again for me the top 11, but it sounds like for you the top 10. But you can start poking holes in all those guys, and I do feel like Davante Adams, just the one thing is age. Outside of age, like I still think he clearly has it.
Yeah, I think the age is probably the thing that's holding them back. I don't know. Is I'm lagging right now, huh? Am I
You're
lagging right now?
lagging a little bit.
Yeah.
Not anymore. You were a tiny bit.
All right, I feel like I was lagging, but I feel like the one thing about Devontae is everybody's gonna go to like he's older, he's 32, so there's this anticipation that a cliff is coming off, and the thing is just based purely off the numbers, he didn't really give us any reason to believe that last
Yeah.
year. I think that's just one of those things in our heads where like, man, it's gonna happen. So I just think like when I start to think of receivers in that range, I don't know that I would say, hey, take him at 12. But I mean, if he had 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns, like that's not shocking anybody.
No.
And that's probably like top 5, 7 numbers.
Oh man. Yeah. And honestly, I think I'm starting to come to the point of like I don't like a lot of those wide receivers there in that range. Like
Mhm.
it's not that I don't like them, but I don't really see. I would not be shocked if DJ Moore is basically putting up the same points as Garrett Wilson this year. Like they're close. But you can get DJ Moore 2 rounds later, like in this draft. Or I don't know, like Jamison Williams
Yeah,
puts
yeah,
up nearly the same points as like Terry McLaurin
yeah.
or somebody like that. So for
Xavier Worthy.
me, yeah, like I'm just kind of fading the wide receiver position once it gets like to the third round, and I typically just go running back, or I just go with like a surefire bet outside of injury. Lamar Jackson is probably going to be a top 3 quarterback in fantasy football, if not the quarterback one, and then I'll just play it
See,
safe with him.
I'm on the opposite side of that, especially if it's a 3 receiver league. I think that's the part where like I still want to because it's there's a very steep drop off. I think at the running back position right there as well. Right, you got Mixon, Kamara, Bucky, Kenneth Walker, and like Chuba Hubbard if you want to include him in there, Chase Brownish, like that range. After that, it becomes like Tony Pollard, maybe James Conner if you want to put him in there, but it becomes like Tony Pollard and DeAndre Swift. And it's like there's a big drop off in the third, fourth round, too, for running backs. I think those receivers to me are like after receiver 19, 20, like it's a crapshoot. It's literally a
Yeah,
crapshoot for the next like 15 receivers. So for me, I think it's probably easier to find, for me at least personally, I've found that like if if I could stack receiver and running back there at the top, then I can go get some of those later names like Pacheco, ETN, Pollard, Brian Robinson. I can get some of those guys later as opposed to like trying to find who's the right receiver out of Jordan Addison and Zay Flowers and fucking like there's just so many of those receivers that Michael Pittman and Josh Downs and I'm cool off. I'll get the ones I want at a steeper at a much better price. So let us know y'all thought on that, man, because this is like that's draft strategy right there. But like, let us know what you guys think about those middle wide receiver twos because there's a pretty good gap there. Would you rather we answered that one already? Where do you guys rank Rashee Rice now in terms of who do you take over in Brees, Adams, Kamara versus Rice rankings?
I think he'll go after those guys.
Yeah, I
Like
think
I
it's
would say in a 12-team draft, like I think because so I'm kind of the school of thought that I think it's going to be around 4 games. I think it's going
okay.
to be between 4 and 6. So I'm okay like getting them in the 5th round for like late 4th, just because it feels like the Alvin Kamara situation a couple years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah. Value's going to
Like
tank, and
we know the upside. I guess we don't technically know the upside. And he is coming off of significant injury, so you can
yeah,
say like there's obviously some risk here. I'm gonna go with Jaden Reed. Um, but I would say like definitely the 5th round. I feel good just because I look around the 5th round. I'm like, there's just a lot of guys that I'll like feel like kind of what you were just saying outside that
yeah,
top 20 wide receiver range. The running backs gets a little ugly. That I'm okay with just taking the upside in Rashee Rice. But I would even argue, like, I feel like that drop off in a 12 team happens around like mid 4th round, where I'm kind of looking around, looking at the board, and I'm just like, ugh, it's kind of ugly. I don't really like a lot of these guys here, so I'm just going to take him here because I know the upside is
yeah. The
potentially top
upside's
5.
there. I think you have if you go in with 2 to 4 games. I don't think you adjust too much, right? I think
Yeah,
2. I think that's like you're going around Cortland Sutton territory, around like DJ Moore territory. That's where I would want to draft Rashee Rice because I
yeah,
would want the upside that he has for the second half of the season more so than those guys. I think if it's anywhere from 6 to 8 games, though, I'm probably bumping him
yeah.
down like closer to like 30 because that's a big hit. We got to make sure he gets
Especially
involved in
8.
the offense. Yeah, especially
8's a
8.
lot.
Because now you're probably talking. I think I looked at this the other day. I'm pretty sure the Chiefs have a week 10 bye this week. So it's
Mm,
like you get maybe 1 or 2 games before the bye. You're talking week 11. That's a long time to go without your wide
yeah,
receiver
with
too
that,
if you
yeah.
draft him at that range, you know?
No, for sure. And it's tough right now just because we have no idea. I mean, it could
Right.
be 8. I think it's gonna probably likely they've been pretty consistent, and it's his first time. Usually with guys, their first time, they're not as hard on these kind of guys. So it's
Yeah.
usually like the 4 to 6 range. But it was also like I know he was speeding and stuff, but it's not like I don't know, and he has the jail. I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit a lot worse than what it kind of seems like type of situation. I don't want to make light of the situation, but it's not
Yeah.
like I feel like we've seen a lot of other things that have been worse
Well, we
than
got 3
this.
games from Kamara. He had no jail time. We got Rashee Rice got 30 days in jail and 5 years of probation. It's not like the law was
Well,
like, yo, you got
the
off. It was like you got a
probation,
pretty steep for an NFL player.
yeah, I guess, but also
You know what I
the
mean?
jail time goes away if he's fine during the probation. They said,
Yes. So I think at the end of it all, it's like obviously we can't. We're not lawyers. We're not like deep in like we don't have no. We're not in the NFL circles like that. At least I'm not. I don't know if you are, but for me, I don't know
well,
how
I
long the
know, I
suspension is going
already
to be.
know the suspension, and it's going to be 5. It's going to be 4 games.
You sure? I think it's going to be 5.
Nah, I haven't. I think it's going to be 4 to 6 personally. Is what
Four
I
to six.
think.
I think it'll be somewhere in like the 3 to 8 range. That's what I'm thinking. Cover all bases. So yeah, I think for me, unless it's more than 4 games,
Definitely
I'm
not full
slightly
season,
definitely not
right?
full. Ain't no way.
Yeah, I've seen some people say full season. Come
Ain't no.
on now.
Ain't no way.
Deshaun Watson didn't go to full season. You think he's going to get a full season?
Nah, ain't no way. We'll see what Justin Tucker gets too. That's crazy.
Well, I thought they already.
What
Oh, maybe
Tucker
they
got
did.
suspended already?
Maybe
Well,
not.
I mean, he got
You're
to get
right.
on a team first.
Yeah, he got cut. You know what? Oh, I only got 4 running back. I don't even have tight end. Damn, I was
There
paying
you go. Let's
attention
see your
here.
sleeper tight end.
You know who I've been coming. I just feel like he's a very safe tight end. He's been top 12 in fantasy points for like the past 6 seasons. That's Dallas Goddard.
Dallas Goddard. I
You
like
want
that.
nice. reliable. I would have probably just went with Tyler Warren just because I bet Dallas Goedert would just be in a free agent the first couple of weeks, and then I'll just pick him up if Tyler Warren isn't doing anything.
Yeah. Let us know what you guys think of the mock draft in the comments. Obviously, Sonny G's gonna make his last pick here. Nothing crazy. I don't see anything crazy. Everybody got quarterback, tight end. Damn, Cosmic Key faded the receiver position. I hate that draft, bro. I'm not gonna lie. That draft is.
Which
I
one?
don't like that. The ninth slot went 0 wide receiver. I hate it.
Oh yeah,
That looks ugly to me. That looks ugly to me. Oh, that looks ugly to me. I really like what GA Boy did here. GA Boy, I like that team a lot, bro. Except for the leveling pick. I feel like but I mean, it's not bad. I like that level. I like that team a lot. Slot 2, Toker Jones, you killed it. So Toker Jones killed it. Burrow in the
yeah,
7.
like his.
That was a real good squad. Tyler, your team is ass. I'm just
My
playing.
team's no. I forgot. I definitely would have. I probably wouldn't have went with RJ Harvey there. Would have went with I forgot it was 3 wide
3
receivers.
receivers, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing I would have done differently.
All right. Y'all want to get another one started? Let's do a 12-team half PPR.